It's a story of how I shit in my pants in real life. Among Us. Yes. Shit my pants. I shit in my pants. Yes. I shit in my pants. I am for real. Never meant to make you
Bro, put that down for a second. You know that I'm writing a script for a video, right? The game that I want to review starts in the exact same way.
Who'd I just pass there? That you, good buddy? Treetop tall and wall to wall. Travis, you messed up son. What you doing on my road? Late on a gig, bud. I'm taking the shortcut past Silent Hill. Stopping for coffee as soon as I hit Brahms. I'm beat. Bad dreams still keeping you awake. I told you, man, a girl or two would go a long way. Sleep like a baby with a chick in your cab. Guess I just don't meet the right girls, bud. Maybe if you weren't always blabbering about losing your balance when you were young, how you don't even remember how, why. Hey, chill. You don't see me bringing up your issues. See you around, Travis. Take it easy. 10-4. Catch you later, buddy.
Then we see our protagonist driving his truck during a storm. His mind is swiftly overrun by some thought that visibly distress him, but miraculously he's able to stop the vehicle when a pedestrian stumbles in the middle of the road. Weirdly, right before Travis can get out to assess the situation, it immediately stops raining. Outside, it gets even weirder when things start to appear in our mirror. After Travis comes down, he notices a little girl just standing in front of him.
Huh?
But she quickly runs away.
Hey, come back!
Rightfully thinking that she might be hurt, Travis decided to follow the little girl. Since driving with such low visibility would be more of a danger than an advantage, we give chase on foot. And after a bit of jog...
Oh, fuck. It's smoke. My God.
Someone else is outside, and from her shady attitude, it's somewhat obvious that she's involved in the arson.
Someone's in there.
Without much thinking, Travis entered the house to save who's in danger. At ground floor, everything is closed shut, so we head upstairs. After finding the only functioning door, Travis accesses another part of the house, in which, laying on a strange symbol, we find a burned girl. But despite what she says, Travis gently picks the girl up to save her. While running towards the exit, we find the way blocked by fire, but thanks to weird symbols, we are able to successfully escape. Outside, no one has arrived.
Safe now.
But right when the sirens are audible, Travis passes out exhausted.
Everyone.
The next day, he wakes up. Feeling confused and a bit flabbergasted, Travis checks on a nearby map, discovering we are now in Silent Hill. Slowly remembering what happened, Travis chooses to go to the hospital to check if the girl we've saved is okay. Strangely, the town appears to be completely void of people, and the vast majority of its roads are destroyed, which leaves us with only one option, but to reach Alchemilla Hospital. The first things we find are a map of the building and a note about the third and second floor going under renovations. Besides that, the hospital appears to be completely empty. But right before we have the possibility to take the elevator, a cutscene starts.
Hey, you a doctor?
Can I help you?
That fire last night. The girl who was burned. Is she here?
A girl? We've received no new patients in the last day or so. Was she hurt?
She was burned all over.
Are you a relative? What did you say her name was?
I don't know her name. I was the one who saved her from the fire. She must have been brought here. Is there another hospital?
I'm sorry. Perhaps someone in reception could help you. I have urgent...
There is something fishy about this guy. Could be the dark dress or the kitchen nightmare radio stinger.
Salmon crispy as fuck on the bottom. Because the pan you put them in were like smoking. Like, I'd expect her to sear a beef in it.
Okay, Sean. Fuck.
Either way, the situation needs to be investigated. Due to a technical problem, we can only access the second floor, where, after a brief walk,
Yes? You okay?
it's the first enemy of the game, the nurse. Thanks to a nearby hammer, we are easily able to deal with the threat. In what is the only accessible room, a bloody gurney lies at the center. Meanwhile, on a nearby cart, we find a diagnosis. Third-degree burns. Patient is unconscious. Something has prevented damage spreading to the internal organs. Tissue damage is limited to the epidermis and extremities of the limbs. How is this possible? It really seems like the girl we saved was indeed brought here, so why has the doctor lied to us? While looking for more clues, we notice how the mirror isn't reflecting the right image, but clearly Travis couldn't care less about it, so we head toward the exit. When? The little girl from the start appears in the corrupted image, leaving a bloody handprint. When Travis touches it, his reflection starts to twitch.
I'm seeing things. This ain't right.
Ah, yes, you're seeing things! What the f... No. Man, I should sleep more. We are now in what seems to be a distorted version of the room, or simply put, Travis entered the Otherworld. Looking around, we find a pair of plastic lung, a scalpel, and a healthy drink. The rest of the hospital appears to be as bloody and dark as the room we've already saw, while also being overrun by nightmarish nurses. But at least now the obstruction blocking the floor is now gone, giving us access to a whole new section of the hospital, in which only 2 rooms and the stairs are accessible. The first one contains a golden egg and a note. Worry not, I have used thee to contain her power. No one will come to her aid. One of the 5, hide them, protect them. While in the other room there only is a surgical cooler. Pretty much like this one actually, only that the one in the game is square and it's an actual surgical cooler and not a water dispenser. But what's interesting is the note just chilling in front of it. This hurt of mine troubles me with its trembling. To steal it, I have put it on ice and locked it away. Remember, the tree beauty who caused it to pump, so are the key. Having already found some fake lungs, it's safe to assume that we need to open this. But since every crevice of this floor has been explored, we use the stairs to get to the lower part of the hospital. Pretty much like before, all the walls are dribbling with blood, and all doors are locked. But 2 of them have a strange plague. The first one also has what Travis calls a death mask and reads, "Even the blind have need of eyes if they want to gaze at the future," while the other presents an oval depression and reads, "Even in this inferno, from out of the flames, I saw life born anew." After Travis puts the golden egg in the depression, the door unlocks, giving access to the woman's bathroom. By inspecting the sanitary for something to sniff or some clues, we find a plastic lever. Now, having nothing else to do, Travis uses the mirror to go back to reality, where, on the door of the store that contained the lever, is now visible a name and a number, Amy 31. In the very next VC, we also find the key for the staff lounge. Once there, right beside the entrance, another name, Lucy 23. The only other useful thing we find are a key that's hanging over the sink for the exam room, and a memo for the hospital staff. It simply tells that, due to the renovation, there isn't enough budget for the patients, so they must stay at home, exception given if, and I quote, "they're dying in your arms." But then it just continues with the party stuff. The communication itself doesn't contain any info, but if we also consider the coffee marks on the diagnosis, it becomes somewhat clear that the staff couldn't care less about their patients, or their job really. In the exam room, our eyes are immediately caught by an anatomic mannequin, but for the moment it remains untouched. Watching around, we find on the sinks a stomach and an intestine, whereas the board, once powered, it reveals another name, Sarah 19. Now, keeping in mind this number, in order of finding 31, 23, 19, we head back to open the cooler. Once open, it reveals a plastic heart, and finally, the mannequin is completed. Ah, Jesus! Using those eyes, we can finally open the door with the mortuary mask, unlocking an access to the entrance area, but the exit lock is broken. So we go in the alternate exam room. In a twisted and frankly incomprehensible joke, the mannequin is now replaced by a mutilated corpse. She's been cut open and their eyes are missing. What kind of monster could have done this? Travis asked to himself. After entering a very fleshy door, this happens. It's the first boss fight! As a Silent Hill tradition is unbelievably easy, just keep your distance and throw absolutely everything at him. When the monster is defeated, Travis finds on the floor a strange pyramid-shaped object called Future Piece. Then a cutscene plays.
What is this? You. What was that thing? This isn't happening.
Are you okay? Sorry, did I startle you? My name is Lisa. I'm a trainee here. Are you waiting for someone?
No, I'm just... well, I'm done here. Name's Travis. Nice to meet you, Lisa.
You sure you're okay? You look a little shaken up. Sorry.
No, it's okay. To be honest, I've been a little off all day. I was in a fire last night. I think it boiled my brain a little.
The fire in the business district? How awful. I heard about that. No one knows how it got started. And that poor girl, Alessa Gillespie, to die like that.
Alessa? She died?
Yes. Sorry, did you know her?
No. But... never mind.
Well, I have to run. Dr. Kaufman wants to meet me over at Cedar Grove Sanitarium, and he'll be mad if I'm late. Maybe see you around? Take it easy, Travis.
You too, Lisa.
So, the girl we've saved is called Alessa Gillespie. I mean saved, she died in a fire in horrible agony, so maybe what we've seen was her ghost. Or maybe Travis is just suffering from visual hallucination due to the lack of oxygen in the fire, which has brought him permanent brain damage. Either way, he decided to follow Lisa at the sanitarium. According to the map, there are two places that could be used to avoid the rather destroyed roads. Lumberyard, which of course is locked, and the butcher shop. Unlike the hospital, the butcher shop seemed to be in full activity. Machinery can be heard in the background, and there's fresh meat everywhere. But Travis isn't looking for sausages to grill, so we open a door. Someone, or rather something, is brutalizing a nurse with a massive cleaver. Thankfully, for the moment, he let us go. So, after picking up some supply and melee things, we head out. The sudden music change in favor of a more abstract and creepy tone delivers a clear message. From being someone who's hunting for answer, we just became the hunted. At the sanitarium, it's pretty much clear that a normal conversation is simply not gonna happen. The place is absolutely deserted, except for a door, where some people arguing can be heard. It's locked, and someone left a piece of paper underneath, which reads, Dr. Harris, our magpies have been at it again! This time they swallowed the damn key for the archives and the basement! Don't worry, Gary has taken Mr. Magpie to the tuberculosis ward and I am taking Mrs. Magpie to hydrotherapy. We'll make them spit the keys out! This job would be great if it weren't for the patients! Clever. So maybe the key for the office are somewhere in the basement. After randomly bumping in the left side of the hall, Travis finds a very peculiar room, in which we get the first firearm in the game, the target pistol, while in the opposite side of the hall, in the other very peculiar looking room, finally a map! And a report about a patient dated 3/12/1960. Patient, Mrs. age 34. Examining doctor, Dr. Harris. Note: patients continue to harbor strong fantasies and a violent persecution complex. Her moods can swing from calm to violent aggression in a short time, which has led to her being moved in the seclusion wing. She becomes particularly violent during the occasional visit from her husband, demanding that she be allowed to see her child. We have taken the precautionary step to adding epolinium to Mrs. to prevent her violent outburst. I don't like having to see that patients, but when she's aggressive, Mrs. is as much of a danger to herself as to her visiting husband and the staff. But before we have the possibility to start snooping about, we re-encounter someone that thankfully isn't a demonish butcher.
You were at the fire. I saw you there.
Of course you did. That was my house, burning. My daughter, Alessa. You were the one who saved her.
Yeah, she was your daughter? Why did you leave her? Why did no one help? You all left that girl to burn.
So we did. The world is stranger than you think.
You're crazy. What happened to her? Lisa said she was dead.
Alessa is with those who care for her. Do not trust her, Travis. She does not know what she is doing.
How do you know my name? Hey, answer me. They're all crazy.
She's Alessa's mother, and she voluntarily set fire to the house while the little girl was still inside. And even stranger, she talks like she's still alive, even going as far as saying that she's with the one who cares for her. Looking around, we find some ammo and a tire iron. With nothing else to do, we head to the second floor, where Travis is attacked by a new enemy. It's a floating cage, maybe used to restrain patients, but when illuminated, it casts a human shadow on the ground. As always, enemies do have a deeper meaning behind their appearances. But for the moment, let's enter the tuberculosis ward. We can immediately see an iron lung with a note on its controls. In light of the recent accident, I am barring the use of the iron lung equipment. This applies to all staff, including senior nurses. Patient deaths during therapy are not to be treated lightly, and I find it hard to believe that someone could accidentally overload every valve on the equipment, and so, until the inquiry has concluded, I must assume the equipment itself is at fault. These precautions are essential. We owe a duty of care to all of our patients, even the difficult ones.
In seeing the key inside, we can only guess that Mr. Magpie was indeed the suspicious death. But, on the bright side, it's the start of a new puzzle.
To get the key out, we need to get this thing open. But to do it, all valves must reach maximum pressure without exceeding, or the machinery resets. This may take a few minutes, but easily enough we get the thing open, releasing the basement.
Maybe it can be used to reach the hydrotherapy room, where the other key swallower, Mrs. Magpie, was taken.
In the cellar, we encounter another new enemy. Some sort of big chicken dragging his eyeless head around.
And these enemies are so strange, even the shape of their head is quite peculiar.
The vast majority of the rooms are inaccessible, except for a pointless storage and the sewer drainage.
This last one will come useful later. Luckily though, we also find a passage to the female section where the hydrotherapy room is.
Inside, one of the bathtubs is full of boiling water. The problem is, the key we need lies at the bottom. Without any alternatives that won't include self-mutilation, we drain the bath. The only other accessible room contains a mirror that Travis can use to get to the Otherworld and in the lower and still unseen floor. The female seclusion wing is locked with a strange symbol carved in the door.
A symbol reminiscent of the one who represents the female sexuality, which apparently has an arousing effect on our protagonist.
A short walk in the opposite direction triggers something. The screen kinda turns black and white and a woman starts shouting to a rather desperate man.
I've always hated you! You and your devil son!
Oh God, Helen! My dear Helen! You really are dead! What will I do?
Society. Being the only doable thing, we enter the bathroom, where after switching to the normal version of the sanitarium, a bloody sentence appeared in the showers. "Bring me my son!" along with a metal rattling coming from one of the VCs. In all probability, the key from the bathtub got stuck somewhere in the pipes.
So as every nice step-bro should do, we have the stuck step key by flushing the toilet.
While in one of the nearby dormitories, we find a note about a female patient. 9:30 a.m. Administered medication to the seclusion patient. No incident. 3 p.m. Visit for Mrs. from her husband. 3:46 p.m. Mrs. has attacked her husband during the visit. She had a violent episode and attempted to throttle Mr. She was heard screaming by myself. We managed to restrain her, though it took 3 of us. 5:12 p.m. After the incident with Mrs., the other patients have become agitated and restless.
It's really starting to look like the person in the documents and the one in the flashbacks are the same.
On a tray, almost as if was put there to be eaten, we find a key for the patient's belonging room. Inside, we find a mirror and a note dated
2/07/1961. It's always about the same crazy-ass lady, only that now we get some light onto a rather obscure background. She has now full recollection of the incident, but shows no remorse. Indeed, she seems proud, almost smug, of her attempted filicide. You know, I'm no expert, but my guess is that's what brought her here. But still, who is she? It looks like it's talking about Alessa's mother, but the dates don't make any sense. This is something that happened decades before the game's event.
In the Otherworld, as Travis head outside the room to finally reach the basement, we discover what kept the door closed. A double-barrel shotgun! While reaching the stairs, we take a look around, finding some ammo and a police report, dated 11/4/1959. When I arrived at the house, the ambulance was already at the scene. The neighbor, Mr. Bryant, had restrained Mrs. and the paramedics were tending the boy. It appeared that Mrs. had attempted to gas herself and her child. When I spoke to the suspect, she was uncooperative and seemed enraged. She demanded I release her so she could kill the devil child. Mr. Bryant commented, "Helen has not been well for a while." Now it's clear. All the documents we found were about the same woman.
Helen, a person that tried to end her own son. At least we now know that it's not talking about Alessa's mother, so maybe it's just a testimony of Silent Hill inhabitants slowly going insane. But it doesn't matter, because we still have to take that damn key from the drainage!
Finally, once there, in the otherworldly version, the Great doesn't keep Travis from taking the key, because he isn't there. The key is for the archive. Thanks to a nearby mirror in one of the storages, Travis is able to get back in reality in order to quickly reach the archive. Inside, another of the flashbacks start. It's basically the interview reassumed in the document from 27/1961, where Helen's backstory is firstly mentioned.
And if on one side these were information that we already knew, on the other it's simply chilling, hearing a mother talking about her son in such disgusting and horrible way.
Understand? That's what you do with pests. That's what you do, isn't it? And he was a pest. Oh, he was a bad boy. Always has been. I tried to pretend he wasn't, but they were there to make sure I didn't forget.
They?
The people in the mirrors. They see it all. What's really going on.
And it was their idea?
Yes. They saw the devil inside of him. I had to kill him. My responsibility. My flesh and blood. I brought him into this world, so I had to take him out of it. Good wombs can bear bad sons, they say. I know you think what I did was
Even
wrong.
scarier, it's how Helen, exactly like us, saw people in the
Keep me locked up,
mirrors.
Doctor. But you can't. I can leave whenever I want. I can step through that mirror and into their world. This world is just a daydream.
Helen?
When will they bring me my boy?
After another switch, the right side of the building, where we've basically spent 7 years, is locked off. But the left side isn't, meaning that for the first time we can access the Sanitarium's mail world. Since the developer were soulless, our access are unusable or locked from the other side, which means that we, once again, have to go in the basement for a way around. In one of the storages, we find a note on a desk, reporting an incident about a boy that sneaked in the female seclusion wing, where Helen was kept. Unluckily, no injuries. After arriving at the male section, in hope to find some sweet free insulin, Travis entered the infirmary, but instead of the necessary life juices, he finds a creepy set of dolls.
It's the start of a new puzzle, only that now instead of randomly pushing button for something to happen, we must search the world for clues.
The solution is found in the seclusion cells. On a chair lies a note, which shows what pill must be administered based on the room number. So, what we have to do is associate each doll representing a patient with its own room. Room 1 is full of manscape products, so red pill for aerodynamic men. Room 2 is inaccessible cause of heat damage. Matchman gets a blue pill. Room 3 contains perfumes and a dress. It's a yellow pill for our stylish boy. Room 4 is caged to contain someone that surely was a reasonable patient, so green pill for our little knife. Room 5 is full of uneaten food, so it's a blue pill for our Instagram model. After the correct order is achieved, the little thing with all the dolls opens up, revealing a key. More specifically, Dr. Harry's key. Outside we can still hear people talking. Finally someone can explain what's happening! But there is no one. On a desk, Travis finds something we long forgot. It's the manufact to unlock the female seclusion wing.
Next to it, there is a note. But it's not just a communication, nor a simple diagnosis. It's a piece of information that will cast a new and shocking light on everything we've discovered.
The new patient, Helen Grady, arrived today. I was surprised to see how calm and well-behaved she was. After reading her notes, I was worried that she might be something of a handful. The woman is in complete denial and claims no recollection of the incident which saw her committed. Indeed, she has asked repeatedly to be allowed to see her son. I have agreed with her husband that it's best that the boy be kept away from his mother. While there seems to be any hope for long-term recovery, I look forward to spending some time with Mrs. Grady. Her condition is mostly fascinating.
Helen, the woman that tried to kill her son, is Travis's own mother.
Driven by an insatiable curiosity, we put the strange artifact in the door, and this happened.
Lisa? You're here too? Can you see all this stuff? Is it all dark for you too?
It's so sad. They can't do anything for her. She just sits there. She wants her boy so badly.
Who are you talking about? Is the girl inside? Alessa? Is Alessa in there?
No! You know who's in there!
As we enter the nightmarish cell, the flashback from the day Travis sneaked in plays.
Mama? Daddy said you were dead. Are you dead?
I'm not dead. Locked away. Out of sight, out of mind, not dead. I asked them to bring my boy to me.
Mama.
Come here, boy. Let Mama take a look at you.
He's only able to say mama, as if for a brief moment he was a boy again. The boy that was traumatized after seeing his mother devastated and made unrecognizable by the medications while being locked up like some kind of monster after everyone told him she was dead. But now that traumatic event must be faced, and with this game being a Silent Hill, it's unbelievably easy. After dealing enough damage, Helen will scream before being locked up on the ceiling. And I think it's because this event was such a massive trauma that Travis simply can't win over or forget.
It's something he just learned to live with. Or maybe it could be because there is no mention anywhere of her mother passing away. Or maybe both. I have no clue.
After picking up the past piece, Alessa shows up once again.
This is just like before. What's happening here? That thing, it couldn't have been. Are you making this happen? Are you doing this? Wait. No. Don't go. I need to know.
Every door is now locked. So the only thing we can do is get outside and touch some grass.
On our way out, we find a theater ticket on a table. basically revealing the next destination. Just outside the sanitarium, someone turned on the car that was parked at the entrance and left its trunk open. Inside, we find the key for Lumberyard.
At this point, we started tediously backtracking to the butcher shop, but strangely enough, the nurse that was previously attacked isn't there anymore. Instead, Travis finds a hat.
Help me. Onicha. Thinking Lisa may be in danger, we hurry up towards the theater. But as we step out from the butcher shop, the missing nurse is found. The butcher dragged her outside and attacked her body, but in a very specific area. Due to the roads being completely useless, we're forced to go through Lumberyard.
Despite its appearances and sound, Lumberyard can be considered a sort of a safe house, a place where Travis can briefly rest from all the horrors that we've encountered so far.
Near the exit we can see a newspaper with something written on its page. Why are you helping her, Travis? Did you see that nurse? Once outside, we have the possibility to explore a part of the town that is still unseen. But with much anger, I shall say, the only thing we discover is that these pointless roads once again make it impossible to reach the theater, so it becomes mandatory using the Greenfield apartment as a way through. We can immediately see stains of blood going toward the apartments. Luckily, before getting overwhelmed by the enemies, Travis manages to find an open door.
Unlike every other place in this game, the apartments are warm and safe, almost nostalgic, so it comes as a surprise when, in one of the bedrooms, we find the source of the bloodstains.
A monster lies on the bed. It has been mutilated and its blood is all over the walls. On a nightstand, we can see a napkin that simply says, "Someone made a hole! Go home, Travis." Looking around, we find a crack in the bathroom that Travis can use to get to the lower floor. We are in the lobby now, and one of the mailboxes, apparently the 213 one, is overflowing with letters.
And I know that it sounds unbelievably pointless, but as we'll see, it's gonna be simply essential.
After heading out, we can finally reach the theater. To unlock the doors, we put the ticket inside the box office.
Which, by the way, costed 44 cents, or just about 7 million rubles.
Luckily, the map is just beside the entrance.
And with that in our pocket, we can finally start exploring the place.
We can easily go upstairs, but due to a locked door, it gets nowhere. So we start from the auditorium, where, once in, a cutscene plays.
What are you doing in here, Lisa?
Sorry if I scared you. I thought I was the only one in here.
It's dangerous.
Dangerous? You're kidding. The door was open, so I let myself in. I just love the theater, Travis. I want to be an actress. But Mom was a nurse and her mom was a nurse, so I'm going to be a nurse. I've got what it takes, though. I can't stop thinking about you, Travis. I want you. You're all I think about. Let's get the hell out of this crazy town. Run off. The two of us. We could be so good together. See? I could be a star!
It's Lisa, but she's acting completely different from the last time we saw her. Like she has no recollection of what happened in the sanitarium.
You know, there is kind of a big difference between being a Karen and telling your life dreams. I mean, good little things, am I right, guys?
After she's done, we move towards the stage, where a flashback occurs in which one of the actors had a nosebleed during a performance. In the safety control room, we find a memo attached to a switch.
It's nothing more than a subtle way to tell the player that raising the safety curtains is gonna be the main objective of this section. Of course, there are no safety curtains in here, just pigeon turd and respiratory diseases.
While searching for more clues, Travis meets another new enemy. It's a puppet, and unlike every other enemy, it has two faces. Every monster, after enough damage is dealt, will start twitching on the ground, waiting to be put to sleep. But if said action can be executed, the enemy will start walking again like nothing ever happened, except for these little nightmares who'll start chasing Travis, running on their hands while kicking the shit out of everything with an even larger range than their first phase. Which is very cool and creepy, but unlike every other Silent Hill where fighting can be considered janky at best, here is putrid. One of the new features that Origin introduced was weapon durability, meant as a way to increase tension. And sure, things can get pretty tense if my self-defense tool break if I just look at it, but it doesn't get any tense if I can carry 2 tons of garbage plus firearms, because then it just gets annoying. Especially if we consider that Travis can brawl his way through. It just doesn't make any sense! Silent Hill Origins is also the first, and I hope last game, that implemented throwable objects. And these are by far my favorite. Just look at this shit. Typewriters, small cabinets, alcohol bottles, and a portable TV!
A portable TV! How much weed you need to smoke to even perceive the cold brought by the shadow of the thought that using a portable TV as a gun in your game was a good idea? Too much!
Unlike normal object, throwable weapons do inflict a lot of damage with a single hit, after which they broke down. But what really happens is that they shatter in pieces so small that their molecules and subsequent atoms simply cease to exist. But it won't matter, because by then the enemy will be on the ground waiting to be finished.
Since I've talked about melee weapon, I think it's more the perfect time to talk about firearms. Yeah, they shoot bullets into things. Bang.
In the current section of the theater, we can only explore the director's office, where we find a sun totem that clearly wasn't designed by someone's niece, and a note. It's about the costumes and stuff, but it also reports how one day a little girl snuck into the theater during a performance, and apparently she was so terrified by the actor wearing the Caliban costume that she simply ran away. Also, weirdly enough, the memo states that such performance was interrupted when the actor interpreting the Caliban started to bleed from his nose. But, most importantly, from a drawer Travis picks up a fully Turbo America 1911. In the locker room, next to a mirror, we find a sketch with the various characters of the act. The really interesting part is at the very end. Jack says the town is located on old spiritual ground. Hopefully, we will be blessed.
It's a very small piece of information, but at least it gives us some context, because for how much things are up, the only possible explanation is that some sort of divinity just wants to have fun, psychologically and physically torturing people.
The Otherworld version of the theater is completely different from the other location. The blood and rust are replaced by plants and dead vines on almost every door and wall. Unfortunately, as before, all rooms are locked or inaccessible, exception given for the director's office, where Travis finds some ammo and the key for the balcony corridor. With that in our pocket, it's back to reality, because it's time to open the closed door at the second floor. After entering the corridor, we're able to access the light control room, where on the console lies a note. It basically says that in order to raise the safety curtains, all light must be working, and since the city wasn't doomed by a god, but by improper building contracts, all light needs to be arranged in a specific order, or the circuit blows. Thankfully, the technician left some jotting about the placement. From the nearby shell, we pick up the 4 light bulbs. At the other end of the corridor, we find an unusable door and the stairs leading to the ground floor. After kicking this guy into oblivion, we find, just laying at the center of the room, the moon totem.
Maybe in the other world, there is something that we can do with these 2 bathroom tiles.
Following a quick reality switch, we take Travis' fat ass to the unusable door. Predictably, now it looks more like the entrance of a crypt, with a square hole on both sides. The plaque reads, "I am a child, torn by twin desires. I stand before a door. My right hand calls to the light. My left hand ushers to the darkness." After placing the totems, the door unlocks. From the map we can see the catwalks where the light probably are, but the locks are of course broken. Looking for a way around the problem, we push Travis in the nearby corridor, where at the end, lying on a tiki totem, there's a hunting rifle. While out of all rooms, the only one that's accessible is the costume storage. And luckily, a mirror! Back to reality, on a sewing machine, we find a note. "Since what happened to Tony, I've dreamed about him more and more. The butcher! He looks just like that monster, the executioner. Now I've seen him when I'm awake. He's in my motel. It's him, I swear it!" We've already saw in a memo how Alessa was scared by Tony, and somehow soon after he got a copious nosebleed. But it's also reported that she seemed to dislike intensely, almost hate, another character, Prospero.
It's too much of a coincidence how these two men had problems after they bothered a little girl. But how's that so?
After getting out of the closet, we're finally able to access the catwalk where the lights are. I'll skip all the reasoning behind it because I'm too lazy to explain math, but it all boils down in 500 watt bulb in the first, 125 watt in the second, 750 in the third, and last 250. Voila! Once the switch is actioned, a really cool song starts playing. So, all excited, we go towards the safety control room. And listen to that noise! Nice! Now that the curtain is raised, all the stage is accessible, revealing a massive mirror. If we touch it, we switch to the alternate stage, but there's literally nothing that can be picked up or done. After getting back, we see a console hidden behind a corner. The machine places on the stage scenic objects and scenarios. After some tomfoolery, we hear a very strange sound. Placing some trees changes the reflection of the mirror to reflect the new setting. Travis is now into some sort of forest, where inside a fleshy-looking tree he finds the stage office key.
Now an idea starts to grow. Maybe if this combination worked, there are other combinations that can be used to get into places. And if that wasn't the case, I can always sit on the machine and enjoy a nice evening myself.
After more thinking, we drop a cave that doesn't work with the table nor with the tree. Instead, what seems to do the job is keeping the table and use some sort of library as a main scene. After touching the mirror, we are predictably taken to a library, only that it doesn't reflect the violent appearance of the forest, but more of an ancient and abandoned tone, like the theater itself.
I am warning you, because here I found some key documents to understand whatever's happening. So, story time, kinda. But for such dramatic things, a change of location is needed. What? Is this too much? Listen, the Vatican doesn't care when their employees psychologically and physically. So trust me, they're not gonna be bothered by me. So, shall we take a look at this document, shall we?
The first one lies on the table. Repression and coercion. It is a fact well known to intelligence service and military agents. The more controlled a mind, the more a mind censors itself, the easier it is for outside influences to take hold and piggyback such mental programming. This is why those agencies chose for their pawns those individuals most compromised by their own mental issues. Then it continues on a nearby page. Manifestation of delusions. Phenomena such as telekinesis often occurs. These seem frequent alongside negative emotions, which are manifesting as external energy with physical effect. Nightmares are especially strong triggers. In all cases, these phenomena arise from children or adolescents, and the overwhelming majority of the subject are females.
And you can tell the developer really bothered with this shocking revelation because the third and final page is, yet again, on this table.
Throughout these case studies, we see the victim's brain struggling to cope with the conflict caused by the abuse at the end of a loved one. In many of these cases, the abused child's self appears to split in two. One personality continues to love the abuser and seeks their approval. The other personality contains all the anger of the abused and in many ways become a mirror of the abuser, seeking to inflict its pain on others. Sadly, it is often this self that becomes dominant. To fully understand this, we gotta skip a little bit. In the next location of the game, we find this memo. It is believed that being of tremendous energy may come a vessel capable of giving birth to Samuele, the god worshipped by this cult. Samuele's arrival will bring forth paradise on earth. Someone also scrolled something in a corner, and it reads, "Given that this vessel is to be molded with suffering and pain, what kind of paradise will result?"
The pages found in the library suggest that this so-seeked mental power is the ability to physically manifest your energy, kinda like Bioshock telekinesis, for example. But such ability can only be achieved through pain.
In Silent Hill, it is shown how Dahlia neglected his daughter, even physically hurting her. I mean, I'm almost surprised, but she also set fire to her, so... Since the cult had total control over the city, Alessa wasn't even safe at school. All of her schoolmates excluded her, treating her like she was plagued. It doesn't come as a surprise when this psychological torture soon evolved in physical abuse, until something in the mind of that little girl broke. One part was incapable of understanding such hate and only wanted it to stop and probably to become something else by indulging the haters.
Because, after all, if everyone is treating me like I've the plague, maybe it could be because I'm plagued. All meanwhile, the other half deeply hated everyone remotely responsible for any unjustified sufferance.
Unfortunately for the cult, their plan was only 50% successful. Their operate had given to Alessa the mental strength to birth a god, but no one had thought that fateful night, her own vengeful side could use its own powers to detach and manifest itself, leaving the weaker and condescending part behind, which asked to burn because so dying is the only way to please and be loved by her mother. During the fire, Alessa took advantage of that undescribable pain, manifesting herself to stop Travis and save the rest of her persona. Listen, it's kinda hard to describe this.
A move that may have simply saved the world, because after the revengeful and strongest part detached, what remained simply wasn't a vessel strong enough to birth Samuele.
As a result, the enraged god transformed the smoke coming from the failed evocation in eternal fog, where monsters do and represent things for avoiding spoilers.
Now that Alessa's and the town backstories are kinda clear, I can go back to wherever I was to do whatever I was doing.
After switching back to reality, we go to the last room that need to be opened, the stage office. Inside, on a table, we find the missing lever for the machine. After using it, we can drop a strange leather thing, and when combined with the cave, when we touch the mirror, this happens. It's the Caliban, the imaginary creature feared by Alessa. It's a shame the boss fights are so unbelievably easy though. When the creature is defeated, it gives us the Falsehood Piece. Then, as usual business, Alessa shows up to give Travis some brain cancer.
You need these, don't you?
After we wake up, one of the baby nightmare is in the theater lobby, with a key on its side.
Riverside Motel. I think I've been there before.
Outside the theater, basically just in front of it, there's a small visitable place called Public Records.
It's very easy to miss because unlike 99% of this game or simply the rest of it, it's not mandatory.
Inside, most of the documents are rubbish, but the ones that are readable are a perfect example of a big problem with Silent Hill Origins. The first one is a police report. Looks like the fire started on the first floor and spread to the rest of the house. Circumstances are suspicious. Blah blah blah, someone visibly added a paragraph, seems there was an accident in the basement, one of the boiler, blah blah blah, Alessa was declared dead at the scene by Dr. Kaufman, cool. The other piece of wasted paper is found nearby, and it tells about a teacher reporting Alessa's poor condition, but the report was ignored because the mother, Dahlia, was simply considered a religious woman with a strict education, but also because Kaufman certified the girl was okay.
So, here's the problem. Where is that dooming presence that is the cult? In Silent Hill 1, you could tell they ruled the city and did an absolute mess of it. In Silent Hill 4, we even discovered that they had a prison that came straight out from the Turkish legal system. While in here, we just have 2 pieces of paper when Dahlia and Kaufman sings for themselves, making the cult a duo of 2 blithering idiots that love bullying children. Anyway.
To get to the motel, due to the perfect road maintenance, we're forced to go through the bookstore, where for some godforsaken reason, on exposition there's an AK-47. Unfortunately, the back door is closed. Looking around, just beside the cash register, we find a piece of memo. Everything fine, sold a lot of books. I've locked the keys in the cash register. The combination is your apartment number. Hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Here's the trick. Do you remember the mailbox from the apartment? Me neither. Time to look up a 2007 IGN guide.
After an incredible research, we conclude the answer is 213. The cash register opened up, revealing a key for the back door. But between us and the motel lies one single obstacle, the convenience store. All the sign outside suggests that Silent Hill was slowly abandoned by its inhabitant instead of disappearing in thin air.
But what's truly staggering about this whole area is that its unique purpose was to let us find a receipt that says, "Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes the butcher to chop off your head." I think this was just a waste of time, wasn't it?
I gotta admit, it's strange seeing the Caliban as a normal enemy, but this is the fog world, so it makes sense. Samuele the god is throwing everything at us in an attempt to stop Travis, or maybe just for fun. But Caliban or not, after what felt a 60-kilometer trekking session, we arrive at the motel, where in the lobby a cutscene with small Travis and his dad checking in plays.
On the counter lies a piece of the guest registry. Room 500. Name Mr. Grady. Other occupants, son. Reason for visit, business, pleasure.
Even after the document has been taken, there seemed to be something else catching Travis's eyes. To get a close look, we get behind the counter, but while doing so, we also spot a key still hanging from the wall. It's for room 306, and the object catching Travis's attention is just a rotatory calendar, which kicks a new objective: find the right date. Thankfully though, the map is just near the entrance, giving us a glimpse of how big this area is. From the central lot, we can divide the motel in 4 sections: the north area, the west area, with the pool, the east block where room 306 is, and the south zone with a probable connection to room 500. As it turns out, all of them are locked, except for the south zone, which isn't connected to room 500 and doesn't contain anything good.
So basically, the only thing we can do is go upstairs and hope to find some sort of passage to somewhere. Luckily though, it takes us not directly to room 306, but almost there.
Hello there, new enemy! This late in the game? Fine by me. After defeating this new abomination, we check the bathroom, finding a mirror. Time for a reality switch! In the otherworldly room, there's a letter hanging from a wall. To my beloved wife. I miss you so intensely. Watching them take you away was like a dagger through my heart. It had to be done, but now I am so alone. At the doctor's advice, I told Travis you were dead. Maybe it would be better if you were. Helen, will you ever come back to me?
Now we know why small Travis believed Helen died. To avoid the stress from dealing with an unstable and murderous mother, his father simply told him she passed away in the incident, which worked unbelievably well.
The otherworldly motel is strikingly similar to the Sanitarium. Blood and rust everywhere, and pretty much like its normal version, all gates are locked, besides the south one. But in an M. Night Shyamalan twist of event, the police barricade is gone. Just in front of room 500, there's another one of those nightmares. Unfortunately, the room itself is locked.
It doesn't take long to understand that on the other side of this door lies a terrible secret.
In the nearby 503, we find a mirror to switch. Once back, we enter the maintenance room, in which a heavy workbench and a memo are found.
The memo talks about a weird guy lodged in the Cleopatra suit, then angrily drove away after he discovered the washing machine got stuck closed. So, yeah, let's add that to the to-do list.
In the maintenance room, we also find access to the maintenance tunnel, where, for some reason, using peoples, we can spy in the confining rooms. Looking in room 500 triggers a flashback showing Richard.
Helen, every time I look in his eyes, I see you. It's not enough. I can't be there for him. There's too much pain in this world without you. That thing that stole your body, it had the right idea.
Richard's desperation is actually palpable, but that's not important. You know what's important? The calendar behind him!
All the other rooms appear to be empty, except for the Rose suite, where someone is clearly having some fun. Meanwhile, in the room just in front of it, 503, the situation is really different. It's the butcher, and he's looking at some photographs. Soon enough, though, we discover what he's enjoying. On a table, we find the manager's office key and a picture. It depicts a gay-minded woman, and the only thing it says is shotgun. With our newly found key, we run to the office. Inside, the first thing that catches our attention is a piece of paper on the counter.
At first, it seems like a normal staff communication, but its content reveals to be quite disturbing.
Christ alive! One of the cleaners called me over, said there was something wrong with room 500. A door was open. Inside, sweet Jesus, the stench made me puke. The kid, man, the kid! It just stood there. They said he'd been there for 10 hours! I ended up crying my eyes out. Shit like this shouldn't happen. The police have got the room locked up. I'm going home.
The stench, the police, and a little boy. What happened in that room truly is one of the worst things that a human could possibly experience. Unfortunately, for the moment, we gotta let the game tell its own story.
Before getting out, Travis sees some stuffed animals on the wall. And would you believe it that he's an animal lover? By using the secondary door, we are able to access the north section of the motel, in which only 2 rooms are accessible. In 108, Travis finds the Redeemer, and from the name you can already guess that it's the strongest gun in the known universe, while in 106 there are some generic supplies. But creepingly enough, when we get in front of the kitchen, a very familiar scenery presents. One of the monster things lies gutted near the entrance. And we both know the thing responsible for this mess is inside the kitchen. Entering the kitchen triggers a cutscene. It's the butcher, and as usual, he's just having some fun. But this time, he's not gonna let Travis go. This is easily the best fight in the game. The close quarter, the speed and the range of the butcher, all mixed with a horrible camera, make this confrontation extremely intense. It's somewhat obvious their intent was to recreate something similar to the first Pyramid Head fight. They didn't, but it's very entertaining nonetheless. After defeating the butcher, Travis picks its cleaver and fiercely puts an end to that sick abomination. Using the secondary exit takes us to the dinner, which is connected to the pool. Once out, the first noticeable thing is a shiny object underwater. But due to Travis being a useless human being that doesn't know how to swim or even jump, for now it stays there. So, out of pure zealousness, we take a look at the laundry room. And surely enough, the broken machine is there, still waiting to be opened. Unfortunately, we need a coin to get it started, and of course the game likes to remind to all players, me included, their economical situation by giving them a broke-ass character which only carries 25 cents that doesn't even want to spend on self-hygiene. I mean, to be fair guys, it's like a quarter from the day my parents died. Well, my man, that has been very lucky-inducing. It has something scratched onto it, looks like a 61. Okay, fair enough, Travis, my man. You do whatever you want. Checking the map, we see the motel has a game room. Maybe inside we'll find a coin. And surely enough, on a pinball machine. While going towards the exit, a flashback starts. We can hear a small Travis and he's dead.
Can I have some money for the pinball?
Yes. About this afternoon.
It's okay. I just want to play the pinball.
Sure. There. I'm going back to the room for a little while. Wait for me here.
Richard wanted to talk about something. Maybe about Travis sneaking in the sanitarium. But to be honest, they both seemed pretty chill, so I guess it was about something else. Now that we've got the token, it's time to see what's inside the washing machine. Following the instruction on the note, we are able to get the thing open, revealing the Cleopatra suite's key. Besides that, inside the machine there are only dirty clothes. But despite what Travis says, what makes them dirty appear to be blood. So maybe the guy who did bad things to girls and took pictures could be the same that lodged in the Cleopatra suite. And as we're about to see, it appears to be so. Key in hand, Travis goes upstairs in the Cleopatra suit. Inside, a trail of blood leads to the bed where a picture is found. Cause of death, snakebite. Clearly someone used or is still using this motel as a hunting ground. But, just like Richard's depression, that's not important. It doesn't matter. Because guys, we need to investigate these sex noises. There might be some boobs in here. Lisa and Dr. Kaufman were doing things. You can see the delusion on Travis's face. He really hoped in a relationship with Kaufman.
After the situation calms a bit, Kaufman tells Travis to leave. But he also locks the door on his way out. Dr. Kaufman is someone that can only be described as a liar. Every single time he always told the opposite of what was really going on, unlike Dahlia, which was always open about her shady business.
Kaufman wants Travis to stay in Silent Hill. He knows we are going to play an essential role on whatever's happening.
While exploring the room, the game drops our attention onto a tray. By Travis's comment, we understand that it's some sort of happiness death, something our tracker always tried to avoid. While on a table near the locked door, we find a letter written by Dahlia to Doc Kauf. We are almost ready, but must hurry! I sense our hold on her powers is weakening! I worry that she draws strength from the core I hold. I will leave it behind. It will be safe. Grady is unlikely to return here. He is still running around town chasing after ghosts. He's ignorant of the bigger picture anyway. I will wait you here. The time approaches. The floor is shattered, thrown to the wind, and her will is still buried deep in a sleeping mind. This time, the ritual will succeed! Since we can get out from the door, there might be a way up in the bathroom. But there's just a mirror. In the otherworldly suite, another photograph is found. Overdose. Outside, we can see how the pool is empty, making the jewel pickable. Meanwhile, in the dinner, from a cage, we pick up an ornamental dagger that must be used in this fleshy door, symbolizing what Richard wrote in the first letter.
How he felt a dagger through the heart when his wife was taken away. Or it could represent something way darker.
Inside, we find another picture. Cause of death: stabbing. By jumping in another hole, we arrived at the King's Suite, which is currently connected to the maintenance tunnel. At the end lies the last picture. It depicts our father and says, cause of death, broken heart. While getting out from the tunnel, we find the third and final letter. To a ghost. There is no pretending now, is there? We both know the thing at Cedar Grove isn't you. You died the day you tried to kill our son. When I brought your gift today, when you smashed it, I finally woke up. I've been dreaming all those years, kidding myself that you'll be right one day. The Helen I loved is dead. I tried to remember I was, all those years ago today when we got married. I can't remember anymore. I'm tired. I know Travis will be fine on his own. I am going to see you again, Helen. Yours in forever, Richard.
It became clear what happened that day. But just like a child when his parents argue, we are going to focus on something else, like the memo. It mentioned something getting smashed, so could that be?
By using the mirror in 503, we get back to reality to try our luck with a heavy bench. From the heart-shaped jewel, a ring drops, and apparently it has something engraved onto it.
It's also the final piece of our puzzle, with the day from the flashback, the month from the ring, and the year from the coin. We finally get the calendar to work.
The calendar opens up, revealing a round depression that must be filled by the previously found wedding ring. As we do it, a key appears behind Travis, and the music swiftly changes.
It's glaring. We've just unlocked something of great importance. So, what could possibly have happened to Travis in room 500?
It's still currently impossible to get the door open, so we try to access room 500 from the other world. And again, thank you so much, 503. As we get out, a cutscene starts where small Travis goes towards the room.
Daddy?
After a long descent, another door.
Daddy? I won the game. I still got a quarter left. You want the quarter? Daddy, wake up. Please, Daddy.
What Travis saw that day was his lifeless father still hanging from the ceiling. Something buried so deep in his mind that just like for his mother, he reacts like a child, like the child he was when everything happened.
Daddy, this is insane.
Time you faced up to what happened. Your mother and I will see you in heaven, son.
But there is no time for remembrance, because the monster that is Travis's dad starts to attack. But easily enough, Dad is defeated and the truth piece secured.
How is this even possible? Dad, how could he do that to himself? Why won't you let me forget? Why are you doing this to me? Come out! Come out! I've got your thing for you. Happy? You've dug up my parents. What now? When do we get to look inside your sick little mind?
When Travis wakes up, we find ourselves in a familiar yet unseen place, and with this safety-inducing music, I gotta say it's a nice and well-deserved change of pace. After a little walk, we see a familiar object on the ground. It's the present piece. It's time to get this thing together.
To do it, we simply have to associate the symbol on our small pyramids with the ones on the surface of the funny-shaped object.
When it's done, a light comes out and many things happen.
You're here? Wait!
By following Alessa toward the exit, we discover where Travis has been taken.
We are back in the hospital, but not for much though, because the true extent of what we've done is waiting outside. Shall we go?
What have you done? You broke the spell. Now, she is free.
I just want to end this. I thought that's what she wanted too. I want out. Can you help me?
You want out? Ha ha! Far too late for that. Even with your misguided help, she can't stop us now. The ceremony begins soon. Finally, she will birth God! Here she comes. Look upon what you have wrought!
With full controls of her powers, Alessa releases the Otherworld onto Silent Hill, reflecting on the city all the pain she's been through. Fearing for his life, the Chad Travis runs away.
Also, whoever saw that ugly ass face and gave the okay, man, I absolutely love you. But I also hate you so much that I will have you condemned to forced labor or 1 hour of YouTube short.
After just a few steps, Travis finds an hand-drawn map pointing to the antique shop. Getting there is not easy. The city, or what remains of it, is overrun by the strongest enemies we've encountered so far. But weirdly, the shop itself seems to be unaltered by Alessa's rage. Inside, after a long descent, Travis arrives in what seems to be a living room, where, on a counter, we find a piece of lore about the pyramid.
And here you go. The funny pyramid is called the Flowers, and from this note we can also deduce how the great spell casted by that homeless-looking organic tank was nothing else than a mere fragmentation of the Flowers, the big pyramid, so that Alessa couldn't use it to amplify her power. Which is what we have unwillingly done. Yes.
After reading the most sane page from the Book of Scientology, we decide to enter a hall behind the couch. After a long crawl, Travis arrived to an underground complex, where, after literally 5 meters, we stumble upon something terrifying. The cult is trying to perform the ritual, but since Travis is such a massive Chad, he gets put to sleep by Dr. Kaufman.
She's here. We need to begin this now.
Don't worry, Dahlia. With him out of the way, she has no conduit for her power.
Mama? Mama? What is it?
Don't touch.
Ow, it's hot!
Leave it be. It is a cage for a demon. Contained, his power will focus yours. Release him, and we will all burn in the fires of hell.
We end up in an empty room. But we're not alone. It's the Other God! Well, not really. It's a manifestation of the Other God spirit before it possesses Alessa to physically manifest itself. How? Well, I think it's the same thing as materializing the Otherworld upon the city. After what is an incredibly underwhelming fight and many bullets, we are able to weaken the god so that he can be trapped inside the Flowers. While the part of Alessa's soul that was still tied to the burned body is reincarnated in a small baby, leaving behind an empty but still alive body. And then the ending plays. After resetting the partial millage because past events must not be forgotten, but instead used to drive better decisions, our tracker goes away.
So, thank you so much for watching, and from Appo Leadu was now Oh, okay. Of course we're back in here. Because you see, there is a rule with silent hills. They must be played multiple times for the sake of understanding the story behind it, to hopefully answer all the questions, such as why do Travis feels numb when looking at things, and most importantly, why chicken? So, without further ado, let's dip our toes in the second playthrough.
The second playthrough can be considered kind of a test to prove how much you really want to understand this game. As the main story restarts, you're all hyped up, new gun and costumes. In the hospital, we understand that this starting area is a reflection of what Alessa felt that night, the constant bleeding and pain caused by her burned flesh.
The staff performed the required medical procedure to keep the body alive, but to her though, those nurses and medics were just unknown presences that will just inflict more pain with their needles and science. But honestly, it's very strange how thick they are, but that is just a reuse of the old models with some minor changes. Or is it?
It's after Travis decides to follow Lisa that we arrive in the first area that drops some light onto our protagonist's backstory.
His mother, Helen, at some point started to suffer from visual hallucination, probably initially just seeing distorted reflection in the mirrors. But unfortunately, sooner than later, people started to appear in those reflections. People that will say things to Helen, all regarding his child, how he was pure evil, a boy so despicable that he could be barely described as a human. Unfortunately, Helen started to believe what these people were saying.
Culminating in her arrest the 11/4/1959 after she unsuccessfully tried to gas herself and Travis. Thankfully, the police and paramedic quickly turned up on the scene, saving our man, but while Travis was given back to his father, Helen was institutionalized. We know from the documents how in the span of time, despite the medications, her condition only worsened. She claimed to being able to enter the mirrors and explore the alternate realm, when in reality, she just appeared to be in a catatonic state.
During these years, Richard always visited Helen, but her violence was simply overwhelming, both psychologically and physically. Richard will later say that the woman inside the sanitarium isn't his wife, because Helen died the day she tried to kill their son. And if you think about it, it's kinda ironic how this sentence was initially used as a lie to make things less sour for Travis, while now it perfectly reflects reality, with the woman inside the sanitarium only being a shadow of herself, a shadow driven by violence and murderous intent toward the son that she always struggled to endure.
We can only guess what happened in the seclusion wing, but whatever occurred was so traumatizing that Travis locked the memory away, and that's why he acts so shitless scared and wants to get out. He's confronting the truth for the first time.
It's very safe to think that when the paramedics attended Travis after the incident, this caring and loving figure, in complete contrast with his mother, remained well impressed in our character's mind. Perhaps even too much.
Lisa was put outside Ellen's room because her presence in Travis's mind is a direct consequence of his mother's violent, detached and hateful attitude.
So that's why he followed Lisa. He wanted to ask her number, right? Unfortunately, even with the second playthrough, the game still remains full of mysteries. Why such strange monster, and who the hell took those pictures? Well, it is now where the second ending comes into play. If during your adventure you manage to put an end at over 100 enemies, which becomes very easy, especially thanks to the unlockable gloves, this cuts in place.
What are you talking about? Not your mama! Please! No!
Excuse me, sir. Hotel's closed for the season. Wait! What are you doing, son?
So, once again, let's take a step back and let's start the third playthrough. Right from the start, we can see how traumatizing the separation from his mother was. Helen was hospitalized in 1959, and according to GameRat.com, Silent Hill Origins take place in the late 70s, early 80s. It's a burden that Travis carried for over 20 years, but what consequences did it have on our truck? To find that out, we must go back in time and in another place.
We don't know how Travis's childhood generally was, nor how he related with his parents before and after the incident. But small clues here and there may give us the answer we're looking for. And please be aware, from now on it's mostly my own theory, so it's not confirmed or anything. It's simply my idea of what could have led Travis to become such a monster. And he will touch sensitive things, so if you're not okay with that, please stop watching. I highly recommend that because my English is broken and the content is garbage anyway.
In the Sanitarium, we've learned about Helen's descent into madness and about her violent tendencies toward Travis. It's also where we saw Helen shouting at Richard that she always hated him and his devil child.
You and your devil son!
Dissociating from her maternal role, which points to the fact that Helen may have always been regretful and detached. But despite her emotional unavailability, in Travis's eyes, she still remained a motherly figure, someone that, to a certain extent, he could trust. That is, of course, until that fatal day. Right after the incident, Travis's mind, already in jeopardy, splitted in two.
One part, just like the paramedic that rescued him, wanted to be a nice and caring person.
So that maybe, just maybe, the other would pay back with the love and affection he so desperately needed, while the other stored every painful and unfair moment and used it to fuel a fire made of anger and resentment. The question then comes naturally. What pushed Travis in the sanitarium, right in the arm of the woman that almost ended his life?
We know that our protagonist and his father lived together for 2 years, but we also know from the Sanitarium's flashback how desperate Richard became after his wife was taken away.
But how did all of this afflicted his relation with Travis? To answer that question, we must take a look at the memo and the monsters, because they all are a representation of a fear, trauma, or even perversion.
With that in mind, what does this monster represent? And why there is one just outside room 500?
Well, because exactly like Lisa outside Helen's cell, this monster was put here for a very specific reason.
In the first letter called To My Beloved Wife, Richard appears to be incredibly sad, a broken man, and rightfully so. He lost his wife, which is something that comes with a price that Richard simply couldn't pay.
As the second letter, which I purposely kept hidden from you, will show, with time Richard's psyche only continued to shatter.
To my absent wife, I know that whatever hell am I enduring, yours is worse. But damn it, this is so hard! It's like you're dead, but you're not! The Helen I loved is gone, but your body's still here.
I have slept alone in the last 2 years.
Losing your loved one is an unbelievably heavy burden. Burden that, in Richard's case, was made even heavier by the complete absence of physical affection. If anything was negative affection, since in one occasion Helen even tried to choke him. Unfortunately, all this physical and mental discomfort started to afflict his behavior as well.
I've become so bitter, so sleazy. I'm no father to Travis. According to vocabulary.com, sleazy originally meant flimsy, but nowadays it's only used to describe morally degraded people or places. Usually it refers to sexual behavior, but it is often associated with people trying to swing other as well.
Now, the flashback in room 500 assumes a way darker and rather sad tone.
Every time I look in his eyes, I see you.
I won't say what happened between Travis and Richard, but the two back monster clearly depict two persons doing things, with the one on top happily jiggling everywhere, while the one down painfully carries the weight of the act.
It's obvious now why Travis wanted to see his mom.
But what he found that day wasn't his mom. It was a horrible woman that did and said only God knows what to a broken child, destroying his trust.
Leaving him still craving for that safety and comfort that only a mother can offer. After the unfortunate encounter, Travis's mind simply evolved. The nice and angry side weren't competing for dominance anymore. Instead, they start to depend on each other. The angry side should be naive from all the anxiety and pain, like the pain of having to remember or even understand what sort of monsters your parents really were.
That's why, after defeating Richard, we get the truth piece. For the first time, Travis was able to perceive his father as the despicable monster that he really was.
But that mistrust towards the female sex, towards women, was something that our protagonist never got over. In fact, Travis's issues were so deep that, despite his attempt, he simply couldn't do it.
The mistrust, the fear of being hurt again, has made Travis impotent, represented by the kitchen helplessly dragging its head around. As a result of his inability, frustration and anxiety only grew, but drugs and alcohol weren't enough.
To make these horrible feelings go away, Travis needed one thing. Travis needed his mom.
So half of him lived as an apparently rude but nice and caring trucker,
while the other part came out whenever someone was so unfortunate to tickle Travis's senses.
That's why the butcher appears only after Travis decides to follow Lisa.
He didn't follow Lisa to ask information about Alessa, nor to ask her number. He followed Lisa because he wanted to kill her.
But in Silent Hill, that side of him manifested itself as a half-blind monster, a representation of all the rage and sexual frustration Travis stored over the years.
A monster fueled by a psychotic research of some motherly love.
Going as far as wanting to go back inside his mother's womb, so that finally this cruel world couldn't hurt him anymore.
I need to take a shower in acid, man! But hey, it's a Silent Hill, I asked for this.
The mental fights to become a better person always enraging Travis's mind. The future piece dropped by the first boss represent Travis's fear of becoming a crazy like his parents, someone who's prisoner of his own shattering mind.
The last pieces of my theory are found in here. Well, not all of them, some of them are in the inventory. But anyway. Theater, as we all know, are the emblem of fake personas. Their whole existence is based around people pretending to be someone else, which is something that Travis has done for his entire life, putting up a nice facade to hide his true, darker self. Even the cost of the ticket, 44 cents, is how much a theater ticket would have cost in the 50s, which is when our protagonist came to life. And if all of this wasn't enough to pass this theory of him being a murderer with a mummy king, I should have just said this. Oh, look, there are sleeping people in the picture. My inventory is made out of picture. Me, Batman. Second, item description. As we all know, item description in Silent Hills are something like a personal thought of the character about that given object. Now, with this in mind, let's see the description of the shower. Good for maiming bodies. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You're okay, Travis. I won't say anything to anyone, Travis. I'm heading out, Travis. Goodbye, Travis. Leave me.
Oh, and I almost forgot, the puppet represents Alessa's fear of being used and controlled by the cult. On a less serious note, from the second gameplay, a key spawns in front of the hospital and, if used in the motel to open room 502, the alien ending plays.
Huh? Doesn't fit. A lonely moon. You've always been there for me, haven't you?
Greetings, Travis.
You see my truck? I have to find my truck.
Your truck is on our planet. Come with us.
Can I drive?
You drive, Stick?
But, since at this point of the game Travis still hasn't defeated his inner demons, the alien will probably end up dead and emasculated somewhere in space. And that's why in Silent Hill 2, there only is the dog. Guys, folks, thank you so much for watching. This was a very long project, a heavy and difficult one to pull out, and there is still all the editing to do. And honestly, it simply wasn't possible for the great person that is helping me right now, filming and doing everything. For the three of you that are still here and watching, if I forgot about something, feel free to bully me in the comments down below. If you appreciate my work, please consider leaving a like, a comment, or even subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. From now, and for now, for me, it's everything. Have a great 2023. I missed that opportunity to tell you everything to you. And yeah, more will come. And from Appo Leadu is now everything. Please, folks, stay safe and have a great day.